So this is something that has been discussed at nauseum, yeah. But it's of course in all of Western media because they are doing what they do best. This is what they do every time. They project, right? So they accuse whoever the enemy is, of doing something that they are actually planning on doing. And of course, a Western media parrots this, but this is really like the State Department and NATO. Now, NATO has obviously been at fault for the Bucha massacre, for the Kakhovka Dam, for the blowing up of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines. We know this. There is ample evidence, not just by journalists, but also by whistleblowers that have talked about it, by independent investigators of what they did in Nord Stream 1 and 2, added to the fact that Russia would not blow up their own pipelines because why would they? Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is the largest nuclear power plant in the world. It would make Chernobyl look like nothing. It is also under the control of Russia. Russia has zero desire to blow up a nuclear power plant that is under their control. Why would they do that? And going off of that, the extent that doing the consequences of blowing up a power plant of that magnitude would just completely go all the way into Ukraine, into Belarus, into other parts of this area. It just doesn't make any sense. But somehow Zelensky went on and is spreading this propaganda. And then, of course, the entire Western media and their propagandists decided to do the same thing. So first, let's hear what Zelensky or Elensky said, because he really just laid this out there and looked like an idiot. So I'll just read it real quick. Now we have information from our intelligence service that the Russians placed explosive like objects on the roof of several power plant units of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. This is what Zelensky announced. And let's go ahead and listen to what he said, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it, okay?
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Щойно завершив розмову з
Oh,
паном
this one's not
президентом
translated.
Франції Макроном.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. This one's not translated, so we're not going to show this one. But this is basically the gist of what he said. And he was on. They played this video all over the place. He plays this video on CNN. And if you don't speak Ukrainian, apologies for that. So if you do find the video, if I'll post it if I do find the video. But what's most important is that you understand they planted the seed of Russia's going to do this, blah, blah, blah. But Russia was ahead. Before any of this happened, they were saying Ukraine's going to put out a false flag where they're going to say Russia did this, and then they're actually going to do it. And they know this because, again, this has been done before countless times now to Russia. And Russia always says they're going to do this, and then they do it. So the other propagandist that really got a lot of flack online is Luke Harding, because Luke Harding is out there, right? And he's on the Ukrainian side, and he's covering and doing this propaganda. He's one of the biggest, NATO propagandists out there right now in Western media. He's not a journalist, but he is posing as one. So he said the situation, and this is what he tweeted, the situation at Zaporozhye nuclear power station behind me yesterday is alarming. Kiev says the Russians have placed explosives today on top of reactors 3 and 4 ahead of a possible false flag operation. Russian Telegram channels report an imminent Ukrainian attack.
I think I can see something, fam. I'm squinting. Can you see it from there? Look, fam, you can see it, right? The Russians, the Ruskies.
Yeah, they're there. Is he in Alaska with our friend over there?
I think that Cheese Slice found the Zelensky video with the words, with the translation.
Oh, okay. Great. So we can go back and hear that. So let's
throw that up, Cheese Slice. Go full screen. We'll go full screen over here with these guys.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Щойно завершив розмову з паном президентом Франції Макроном. І це вже треті міжнародні переговори за сьогодні після розмов з генеральним секретарем НАТО та прем'єр-міністром Швеції. Головне – наша оборона, фронт, зброя, можливості наших воїнів. Я вдячний партнерам за розуміння наших потреб. Домовились про нові оборонні пакети. І, до речі, я дякую Еммануелю за те, що сьогодні почала надходити та зброя, про яку ми домовлялися. Ракети, танки. Але, звичайно, говорили сьогодні і про більш стратегічні речі, про те, яким буде безпековий фундамент Європи після цієї війни і нашої перемоги. Щоб мир настав швидше і був тривалим, чесним, справжнім, російське зло повинно бачити, яку межу для амбіцій Кремля встановимо ми. Саме ми, усі вільні європейські нації, усі в нашій євроатлантичній спільноті, а не російські терористи та будь-які їхні шантажі та агресії. Ми щодня додаємо змісту саміту НАТО, який відбудеться у Вільнюсі вже наступного тижня. Я вдячний усім нашим партнерам, які працюють разом з нами на посилення альянсу, а отже, на безпеку в Європі, реальну безпеку. Сьогодні в розмовах з президентом Франції, з прем'єр-міністром Швеції та з генсеком НАТО скоординували наші кроки перед Вільнюсом. Провів і кілька нарад з урядовцями та нашою командою міжнародників Офісу щодо підготовки до зовнішньополітичних заходів, які відбудуться найближчим часом. Дуже важливо щодо ситуації на Запорізькій атомній станції. Зараз увесь світ має бути свідомий того, що спільна безпека повністю залежить від глобальної уваги до дій окупантів на станції. Росія повинна чітко усвідомлювати, світ бачить, до яких сценаріїв готуються терористи. І світ готовий реагувати. Радіація – це загроза для всіх у світі, і атомна станція повинна бути повністю убезпечена від будь-яких радіаційних інцидентів. Сьогодні рівно 16 місяців, як російські військові повністю контролюють територію та споруди Запорізької АЕС. У різних держав світу є власні розвідувальні та інші можливості, щоб точно знати, що відбувається і хто в цьому винен. Зараз від нашої розвідки ми маємо інформацію про те, що на даху кількох енергоблоків Запорізької атомної станції російські військові розмістили предмети, схожі на вибухівку. Можливо, щоб імітувати удар по станції, можливо, у них якісь інші сценарії, але в будь-якому випадку світ бачить і не може не бачити, що єдиним джерелом небезпеки для Запорізької атомної станції є саме Росія і ніхто інший. На жаль, не було вчасної і масштабної реакції на теракт проти Каховської гідроелектростанції. Це може надихати Кремль на нове зло. Зупинити його – це обов'язок усіх в світі, і ніхто не може залишитись осторонь, бо радіація нікого не залишає осторонь. Я дякую пану президенту Макрону за увагу до ситуації на ЗАЕС і за готовність робити все необхідне, щоб гарантувати безпеку. Ще одне. Сьогодні Росія вкотре ударила по Харківщині, по місту Первомайський. Ймовірно, ракета «Іскандер», пошкоджено 8 звичайних багатоповерхівок, більше 40 людей отримали поранення, із них 12 діти, 2 немовлят, їм менше року. Станом на цей час рятувальники разом з поліцейськими ще проводять обхід пошкоджених будинків. Усім, хто був поранений цим ракетним ударом, буде надано всю необхідну допомогу. І за цей удар ворог відповідатиме, як і за всі інші їхні удари. Російські терористи хочуть стати взірцевими в тому, як вони знищують життя. А ми ж станемо взірцевими у тому, як життя захищаємо, і як потім життя відповідає справедливо і неминуче на кожен завданий удар кожному терористу. Нацисти намагалися сховати світ правосуддя. І доволі довго, але багатьох із них знайшли і досі притягають до відповідальності. Рашистів зловимо значно швидше. І, до речі, зараз у мене ще буде нарада з міністром внутрішніх справ Клименком та керівником Служби безпеки Малюком щодо нових викликів нашій безпеці і щодо загальної ситуації. Була сьогодні нарада також із розвідкою. Знаємо, як ставити терористів на місце. Дякуємо усім нашим воїнам. Слава Україні!
Slava Ukraine, fam. Slava Ukrainia. Dude, they want you to believe that they're going to tell you that the Russians who captured this nuclear plant are going to blow it up, even though they have control of it for whatever reason, and their intelligence is giving them that information. And you got to at least admit, fam, they're staying consistent to the bullshit. In fact, I think he even kind of called the Russians Nazis at one point in that kind of argument there. Like, no, you're the Nazi, donkey. Go ahead, fam.
Yeah, I mean, it's just comical because if you look at how Vladimir Putin does his speeches, it's very much like he's a politician and he's there and he takes like questions or it's just filmed, at the Kremlin or somewhere along those lines. With Zelensky, it is obviously a production. There's a lot of editing, cutting. There's a lot of there's clearly some green screens. It's clearly like if you film like a production video, it's just so obvious. The guy doesn't do anything, first of all, without the approval of NATO and the United States. So clearly they got together and they formulated this whole plan. And this is what Russia has said, that there was the intelligence, the CIA is planning a false flag on the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And you can tell because he is literally saying things that the State Department has already repeated, that the entire their Western, media propagandists are also repeating. And they all have the same exact lines. They're all saying the same exact thing. But the reality is, as Pasta mentioned, Russia has zero interest in bombing their own nuclear power plant, just like they wouldn't blow up their own pipelines, just like they wouldn't blow up their own dam. So all of these assertions that Zelensky is making is clearly just to have this PR stunt to get more money and get more support, using the rhetoric of children, using this whole thing. It's a whole production to manufacture consent for this false flag. But the problem for them is that people are seeing right through this, right? And you have to look at the timing as well. This is something we talked about earlier today. The timing of this is right before the NATO summit, which will take place in Lithuania. And at the NATO summit, of course, Zelensky is demanding that Ukraine be admitted into NATO. And everybody else is saying, we're not going to do that because that would escalate the conflict. So even though they have basically admitted this is a proxy war with Russia, they refuse to actually go on that. And, I talked to Mark Sloboda about this shortly. That would really mean Article 5 would be invoked. And basically it would just leave them no option than to say, hey, now this is a war of us against Russia, even though we know it is, right? But that would really escalate things. So they keep dangling this carrot of, we're going to make you a part of NATO. We're going to make you a part of NATO. But it's not going to happen. And it's definitely not going to happen anytime soon, like at the NATO summit. The other thing that just happened is the failure of Western media to paint Russia as entirely weak, to paint them as having had a civil war. They failed to actually have that because that didn't happen. They didn't have a civil war. Putin did resolve the conflict, along with, obviously, Lukashenko from Belarus. They were able to reach this agreement. However, people may view how that made Russia look. At the end of the day, Russia was still continuing its operations for the special military. They were still doing what they were supposed to do, and none of that got disrupted. In fact, in the last 24 hours, there have been countless Ukrainian soldiers that have died. And they are really, if you talk to anybody, from anybody that is on the ground reporting or that has analyzed what's going on, everybody has assessed that Ukraine is losing this conflict. So when Zelensky says, when we win, that is just complete and total BS, because they are nowhere near winning. And so this whole thing is just being done to divert attention from their failure in the battlefield and to sort of put the attention on Russia. Oh, Russia's going to do this. We need more support, blah, 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 because they don't have anything else to do.
It's also to keep the scam money going. That's why I put up a Rem's comment. Money, give me money. They want to keep it going as long as they can, before they pick it up and move it to Taiwan. What do we got up next here? Good, cheese slice. Throw it up. Yeah. Nope, not for me. There you go.
Okay, so this one, I wanted to point this out because even the director of the International Atomic Energy Agency admitted that Zelensky is wrong because he said they did not observe any mining activity. They're saying that Russia is doing this on the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And so this is what the approximate statement was. If you can just scroll up a bit so I can read it. He said, at the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, as you know, we have a permanent presence and the permanent mission. I've been in contact with them today. We are aware of Zelensky's statement, but the Russian side has also made similar claims. A nuclear power plant should never be attacked under any circumstances, and it should not be used as a military base. During our latest inspections, we did not observe any mining activity, but we remain extremely vigilant. As you know, the Ukrainians are currently engaged in counterattacks. I am heading to the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant as we speak. I visited the site a few weeks ago, and the fighting is very close. We cannot afford to relax. We will continue to keep you updated on the situation there. So pretty much discrediting what Zelensky said. And again, this is the International Atomic Energy Agency. So it really doesn't make, we don't have to play the video. It really doesn't make any sense to continue promoting this, but that's all you see in media. Russia, if like, I noticed it, like how everybody, that's all they get. When I was in the United States, like that's all people get. Like people, when the Prigozhin thing was happening, people were like, you need to never go back to Russia. Oh my God, Russia. Like they were
the last
freaking out,
flight
and I
was out.
like,
They're canceling all flights out of Moscow, fam. There's no more flights getting in. Things are
I
going to
was
be
worried
bad.
about not being able to get back in.
Yeah.
Like if like they're, they were the American government wasn't going to let me out. I was more worried about that, not not the other way around. But people just they really aren't getting the right information. Whereas over here, you get a completely different sense of the information.
Well, fam, if you want to get the right information from Putin, you should ask one of Putin's friends, Comrade, Misty, Putin's. You can throw this up, cheese slice. There you go. Putin's buddy.
Yeah, she's
If
Putin's
it
buddy.
happens,
She
please
knows
understand.
best.
NATO bombs Zaporozhye.
Yeah, and again, like this is who has the vested interest in going after Zaporozhye. It's not Russia.
Yeah.
So there's that, and again, look at the history, right? And this is what I was talking about when I posted my tweet that who really has the interest in going after the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, right? And I said that it's the ones that lied about the WMDs, 9/11, Vietnam, killed JFK, I forgot RFK Sr., MLK, Fred Hampton, and Malcolm X, jailed Julian Assange, bombed the Nord Stream pipelines, who fund Nazis, and also let's add who fund radical, actual Al Qaeda in all over the Middle East, who overthrew governments in Africa and Latin America. Those are probably the ones that are planning to have a false flag to blow up Zaporozhye, because that is what history and past experience indicates. There is absolutely no logical assessment. Even if you didn't know anything about what we just discussed, you could just go back to history and have a deductive reasoning based on what we know. So that's the reality there.
Common sense also makes it say, like, okay, let's see. Yeah. The Russians have now controlled Zaporozhye for quite some time. It's going to be used for the benefit of the Donbass regions, these independent nations now. Ukraine doesn't want that to happen. Same reason why they blew up the dam. They're going to go out and try to blow it up because they're not using it, and all is crazy and all hell and war. So what else do we have up here now?
In love and war, fam.
In love and war. Hell and war in this case.
So the thing I mentioned this earlier, and I want you guys to look at this map. If or when the regime of Kiev decides to attack the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, the resulting fallout will engulf the entirety of Ukraine and large portions of Belarus, Turkey, Romania, and Western Russia. It's not convenient for anybody, but it is most certainly not convenient for Ukraine. It is most certainly not convenient for a lot of the Balkan area. This would be a catastrophic event if it were to happen. This is something serious. I think people sometimes when we're discussing Zaporozhye, we get into Russia and Ukraine. It would absolutely be devastating for everybody involved. And there is nothing really to gain from this. But there's a potential that the State Department and NATO are willing to risk this radioactive explosion to prove their point and try to blame Russia. Do not put it past them. They are absolutely more than willing to do this. And Russia, right now at this moment, is doing everything they can, as said by Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, to stop this, because they have been ahead of this for a while. The FSB did their investigation. And another thing is that Zelensky has admitted that he's in direct conversation with the CIA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just obviously, guys, it's just, as Pasta said, it's common sense here.
There's manufacturing for consent, and we'll get the next clip up soon too of Kiev over there. But there's manufacturing for consent. You know, if they say Russia blew it up, they can get more money, keep the scam going. You know, they don't want them to be in control of that power plant. So yeah, terrible.
And fam, the last part of this section that I wanted to bring up was from yesterday. I hope you guys had fun at your barbecues and spending time with family. It was my grandmother's birthday. She shares the birthday with the United States. However, also what ended up happening was that the U.S. did several dumb things, and U.S. officials also are included in this. So they posted a photo, which is not this tweet, but they posted a photo of a SU, I believe it's an F-17 or F-27 fighter jet, which is a Russian one. And they were talking about American freedom and democracy, and it ended up being a Russian jet. So that was funny. And then they deleted that. But then also the Ukraine celebrated the 4th of July in Kiev by putting a monument, a Russian monument that was symbolic of Russia's defeat of the Soviet army over Nazis, and just completely draped it over the Ukrainian flag and the American flag. One, disrespectful. Two, how dumb are you? So Donbas Debushka Politics posted, Ukraine, the 51st state, celebrates the 4th of July in Kiev. So, yeah, it's quite ridiculous, but that's what they were doing. So yes, Russians were not happy about that, obviously, but I think it just really shows just how ridiculous they go into sucking the teat, let's put it that gently, of the United States and NATO.